Hey everybody, welcome to this new series on the Evione Blog. Today we're going to take a look at one of my favorite tools in my toolbox, or on my hip, whichever way you'd like to look at it, the multi-tool. As you can see from this sort of overview over here, I have quite a few of them, but what we're going to do is we're going to start with reviewing one a week, so that way we don't sort of mission overload. So for this week we're going to take a look at one of the oldest ones that I have here, which is the Gerber. So let's get into that. Right, so for now we're going to be taking a look at this Gerber. This is the Gerber Suspension Multitool. But let's first take a look at the outside. Comes in quite a nice nylon sort of sheath, quite strong. This one is a good few years old, I'm talking 6+ years old. The pouch still looks pretty good condition. Granted, I haven't been carrying this one a whole lot, but it does go in our camera bags and various other bags, toolboxes, etc. when it's needed. So let's get it open and let's take a look at it. It is a Velcro strap which opens up. Then you can take your tool out. There we have the Gerber Suspension Multitool. The entire tool is stainless steel. Even though this does look like a bit of a painted or oxidized aluminium, it is actually all stainless steel. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at how the construction of this tool is put together and see if there's any sort of failing points that we can see. Now, when you take a look at the Gerber suspension, a few things that show up that's quite nice. Sort of the one-handed operation of two of the blades. There you have it there. That's your traditional sort of knife blade. Still very sharp even after all these years. To unlock these tools is a little bit different from traditionally. You have this sort of lever here on both sides, which you grab sort of like that, then you pull them down, then you can basically put the tool away. The idea behind that as well, you can one hand access and still one hand put the tool away, which makes it quite easy like that. Then on the other side we have the traditional sort of saw blade for cutting ropes, lines, things like that. Also quite a handy tool. Then also the main reason why these tools are so much more versatile than your traditional Swiss Army knives is of course their pliers. This one does not disappoint in that sense. It does have quite a nice quality pair of pliers on it, with a wire cutter. The wire cutter not so much, not as efficient as I've seen on many of the Leatherman tools, but still a nice, nicely made wire cutter. The one thing that I do note on this tool, which is a little bit easier, is it uses your traditional sort of spline key type screws on it, so they are easier to refasten or tighten up when need be, as opposed to the Leatherman, which uses a less available sort of screw with a little center nodule sticking out in the middle. Anyway, back to the Gerber. There you have it in its pliers mode. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through all the various tools, look at their practicality, and decide if this is the right tool for you. Okay, so first things first, let's close it up and let's see the tools which are accessible from the outside. On this side over here, firstly obviously we've got the one-hand operation saw blade. Then we also have a can opener, bottle opener, the back of your can opener in the front. We also have a flat screwdriver, a pair of scissors, quite a fat stubby pair of scissors compared to the ones that I'm traditionally used to, and of course a little lanyard tie over here for attaching this tool to a lanyard, etc. All still usable tools, well made, and they all just sort of fold away quite easily over there. This one of course you have to actually unlock. As far as I know, the other tools also do lock into place, so let's just try that. Yep, they do, so you still have to use the unlock to lock them when they're fully out. Then on the other side we have the traditional blade, we have a large flat screwdriver, we have a star screwdriver, which is kind of more flat than star, but it does get the job done. And then we have a saw blade for cutting wood, etc. And that's pretty much all the tools that are accessible from this side. When we open it up, as you can see, this tool doesn't have any inside stored tools except for the pliers. So pretty much all the tools on this are accessible from the outside without having to open up the pliers, which is quite nice. The construction of this tool is such that it's actually quite easy to dry it out. If it gets wet or it gets dirty, it's quite easy to clean because of all this sort of ventilation built into the handles over here. This tool, like I said before, it is probably around 7-8 years old. Still going quite strong, no rust, no signs of rust. Gerber do rate it that it is a fully stainless steel tool, so you shouldn't expect any rust, including in the liners, etc. So yeah, let's have a look at the spec online of this and see what they say about it.
Okay, so here we're taking a look at the Gerber website at the suspension multiplier. They say it's inspired by bridges of Gerber's hometown in Portland, Oregon. The suspension is an open frame multi-tool with spring-loaded pliers. Our safety plus locking system, as I showed you on the blades, is a fine edge knife, a serrated knife, rough cut saw, and more, housed in ballistic nylon sheath. It's a lightweight, down and dirty workhorse. The basic spec of this tool: weight 255 grams, length 15.2 centimeters, open, and the closed length 8.9 centimeters. The entire device is made out of stainless steel. The sheath is ballistic nylon, and the basic components that they list on the website are needle nose pliers, wire cutter, fine edge knife, serrated edge knife, saw, scissors, cross point screwdriver or star screwdriver, small and medium flat blade screwdrivers, can opener, bottle opener, and lanyard hole. They say it is a needle nose pliers. I do find it a little bit bigger than the Leatherman type, which are a little bit more finer for fine work, which is quite nice. The features listed, pretty much the same things over there, excepting the patented safety system. The tool does get a lot of good reviews. When I got this tool, it did come with a small little open frame knife similar to this over here, just a lot smaller, which is also still going strong and still maintain a nice fine edge. Uses for this tool are pretty much varied. I think you could probably use it for just about anything from an electrician, electronics technician, even a motor mechanic for the odd job here and there when he needs to just tighten something up. The tool is well made, well constructed, quite solid. I just find that I don't like it as much as I prefer the Leatherman tools, and I'm going to get back to the video camera and show you guys why.
Okay, so a few of the things that I prefer and the reason why I prefer the Leathermans. I'm going to compare this now to another one of the de facto standards in multi-tools, a very well-known multi-tool, the Leatherman Wave. Let's have a look at it and I'll show you exactly why. Firstly, if you have a look at the width of the Wave tool, you will see it is a little bit more narrow, easier to carry. The weight is a little bit lighter, I would say, probably even the same, but possibly lighter. If you look at it along the narrow edge, you can see the tool is a little bit more low profile. It may not seem as heavy duty as the suspension, but in fact these tools are very well made. I use the needle nose pliers quite a lot, so if you actually have a look at the pliers on these tools, I'm going to get in close on both of them. Okay, there you have them there. You can see that the Leatherman is a slightly larger plier tool. It's the cutting edge of the wire cutter, and this over here, you will notice doesn't necessarily close all the way. There is a very fine gap in there, which is fine for solid strand wire, but when it comes to fine gauge wire, it does not cut very well. Whereas the Leatherman type tools actually sort of overlap as they cut, so they do cut the stranded wire a lot better than the Gerber suspension. The Gerber suspension is quite nice with the spring-loaded pliers, but at the same token, it's not always. This isn't spring-loaded, but it's not a be-all and end-all to me, who's used to it. But some may find this spring-loaded action easier for them to work with. Me, who's used to working with traditional pliers, no problem at all. A few other things to note. this in your pocket does feel a lot less than the suspension, but the main reason for me is pretty much the pliers. If you also have a very close look at the tip of the pliers, you will notice that the Leatherman is marginally finer, thinner, and able to get into gaps a lot easier than the suspension. I would say probably about a 0.5 millimeter difference in width on the tips of the pliers. Again, here it looks again like the suspension is a lot more heavy duty, not necessarily the case. I'm not even going to compare the suspension to the Leatherman Surge. The Leatherman Surge is a much larger tool, designed for much heavier duty working, so it's a completely different category of multi-tool. Let's have a look at the suspension compared to a sort of cheap line stainless steel multi-tool such as this one over here. Honestly, under these circumstances, yes, this tool does sort of resemble the Leatherman, but the quality is nowhere near the same. I would much rather invest my money in the suspension, as it will last you a lot longer than this tool over here. There is no play on the pliers. You know, some of these things over here you get a lot of play on the pliers. There's a little bit, but not too much. Whereas with these cheaper tools, they kind of shake around and come loose, and they never really last. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the basic look and basic review of the Gerber suspension. Let's just go in and have a look at how sharp the actual knife edge is on this thing, so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Here we've got a standard piece of paper. We've got the knife out on the suspension. What we're going to do is we're just going to slice down and see if the paper tears. Obviously the knife is not very sharp. If it just cuts nicely, it is very sharp. Definitely not as sharp as some of the knives I have. If you have a look at that edge, it's not a very clean edge. If I was to say, for example, just take a very sharp knife, this would cut no problem at all, and it would be a very smooth cut, not a jagged cut like that. So yeah, the knife is sharp, but not radically sharp in any sense of the word, but still perfectly usable for stripping back insulation on cables or whatever the case may be. I'm just referring to my uses of these tools, which is electronics and electrical. It is a useful tool to have. It's a little bit cumbersome to carry with a very wide sort of base at the bottom over here, but besides that, not a bad tool altogether. So if you guys are looking for a first tool and you've got no expectations or anything like that, you might be 100% happy with the Gerber suspension. As for availability, they're a little bit less available than the Leathermans here in South Africa. The Leathermans are far more widespread and more available, with a much more wide, diverse range, whereas the Gerbers, there is a bit of a smaller range, but their tools are still pretty well made. Okay guys and girls, so that's a wrap of the first review of the multi-tools, and that was the Gerber Suspension Multi-Tool Plier Tool. Very nice piece of kit to have. Like I said, if you haven't got one and you're looking for one that's reasonably priced, this would be a good stop. You may be 100% happy with this, you may not, but you'll never know unless you actually try. Cheers for now.